for our feature presentation.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Thursday, the 28th of November, 2014. Well, Friday, 28th of November, 2014. There you go.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. My name's Michael Burhan. He's Dave Wade, and this is the Untitled Movie Show. And yes, I've kind of fallen in the whole kind of Black Friday craze, as I went out to game this evening to go and get my collectible amiibos for the little sprogs, basically for my little children. I do that every year. I tend to get them their main Christmas present and then buy them individual presents as well at the same time, and their amiibos are the individual ones, so I'm kind of happy about that. I got Skylanders for them as well, Trap Team, the Dark Edition, and my sons tried to plow me over for it. It was the funnest thing I have ever experienced, and the scariest, because I had these two little men trying to grab it off me.
Was it rammed, by the way, game? Was it absolutely packed? Or
it was absolutely packed. I waited in the queue for about 30 minutes before I got into the store, went inside the store, and then found out that the amiibos weren't discounted with the rest of the Black Friday stuff. The one thing I will actually have to put out there, United Kingdom, if you're going to do Black Friday, do it properly. Discount everything. That's what the Americans do, and they give some very hefty discounts so that people will go in and clear the shelves. Here, not so much. You do a couple of discounts on. They did a couple of discounts on the Xbox One. A couple of discounts.
How much was the discount on the Xbox One?
I think they did about a £25 discount.
Oh, woo! That's pathetic.
Because it was going with Assassin's Creed Black Flag and Unity, minus the Connect, for £299.
So basically, then I get Black Friday every day of the week with my colleague discount card.
Pretty much.
Compared to what they do, it's funny because I was talking to Mike here before we went live, and I generally completely didn't know, because I got up late today because I keep weird hours even when I'm not working, and I had to go to Tesco's, 24-hour Tesco's, for a genuine reason. And I remember, because I like shopping at night because there's no one else around, and the roads are empty. And I remember pulling into the car park and thinking, why is it rammed? And then my brain just went, oh, it's Black Friday and it's 10 minutes to midnight. And I walked in, and I swear to God, it was frightening. They had 15 police officers on site, meaning they knew they were going to, like Mike said, they were going to run out of the heavily discounted stuff, and then people would go home unhappy because they were all lining up with their baskets. Like, it was like a fucking entrance to a Wembley match. It really was. And it just made me laugh. And all right, if you watch my channel, I'm a cynic, but I did make a point of saying to the cashier when I bought my game and my DVD, Happy Thanksgiving. And they went, what's that? I thought, yeah, exactly. We don't even know what Thanksgiving is, but we're queuing a supermarket at midnight for 20% off a flat screen telly.
Well, the one thing I laugh about a lot is Black Friday is kind of a new thing here. We don't do it the way...
I think it only started last year, didn't it? And that was with Asda.
Yeah, because Asda effectively was bought out by Walmart, hence the reason why. But it's Asda. I know Asda knock off a load of great prices when it comes to their stuff, and I know my mum's currently there with my brother at the moment. The only reason I did Black Friday tonight was because I wanted the early release of the amiibos, which
that's a genuine reason. I get that. That's fair enough. I maybe it's just me being a lazy shopper, but so I'm talking about the people who go, I want a TV at 20% off. I'm like, I could not line up for 3 hours in advance for that.
No, but I agree with you, because the amiibos, I actually paid £1 more for £2 more, because I insure them as well, for these amiibos than I could have got from Nintendo's online site, and I wouldn't even have to leave the house. So that's a big thing for me, right?
See, look, just because it's the Untitled Movie Show, I've got my lightsaber bottle opener for sound effects. That's how committed I am.
But for you lovely people out there who want to know what I've purchased, I got Princess Peach and the Wii Fit trainer for my daughters, because they were very limited in what amiibos they had, which I don't understand. But if you're going to do it, you might as well do it properly.
Well, they're not going to discount it, and they might as well have the whole fucking section.
Exactly. Then they didn't have Mario either, which was kind of weird. They also, I had Fox McCloud, and the other one was Donkey Kong. And the reason behind that was a lot of the other ones that they were trying to give me were ones that my brother already reserved for my kids. So they're gonna have a very good Christmas. based on the fact that they're going to have like 2 amiibos each. I got like Link for my nephew as well, so he can play that on Hyrule Warriors, which is a great thing. Hyrule Warriors, you can actually use your amiibo on that now if you have the Link amiibo, and also you can use them on Mario Kart Wii U, Mario Kart 8, which they will give you new skins for your Miis.
Cool. Right, I'm going to sound really stupid now because I only update my stuff on my consoles when I have to, but how do you get them into the game again?
You basically, there's an NFC reader on the tablet. It's quite similar to what Skylanders has.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I think I asked you this before because I was just under the impression you had to buy an extra piece of kit.
Well, for those of you who haven't seen this, the Skylanders craze is basically what brought about these figures. Nintendo have done it a lot better in comparison because the Skylanders figures are only available to be used on any Skylanders games, where these NFC figures can be used in a lot of Nintendo's games.
That's cool.
Toad, Hyrule Warriors, Smash Bros, and also Mario Kart 8, to name a few. But they are updating more of their games to include these figures as well. So you get like little extra content, you get customized outfits, and the great thing about it is, well, they can be used to unlock certain content in the games. And let's not forget the obvious one here, which is they do look really, really nice. They do, and I know people who are buying them just to have them on their shelves. I'm getting.
I wouldn't open them. Can I scan it in without actually opening the box?
You can. Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's me sold.
Yeah. The fun thing about these figures as well, I know my kids are going to enjoy them wholeheartedly. I've got to have a look and see if I can actually get them out of the box without someone like destroying the box. With the Skylanders trap team,
can you razor between the where the plastic is? I don't know how they're done. If they're like old school Star Wars figures, bubble packed, then can you just razor around where it's stuck onto the card? Because then it comes off with it, and you can stick it back on, and it looks like you've not taken it off. If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to find some storage space for them because I literally.
I wouldn't know, Mike, because you know me. I don't open anything.
Well, I have a huge box of Skylanders at the moment, and with the trap team stuff, it was going to have even more. And now with the kids stuff, it's going to be even worse. Which I don't mind. It's a fun thing to do. The kids are going to have an amazing Christmas because they've got all these little characters for their games. They're going to enjoy Smash Brothers as well, which we're having a tournament, by the way, guys, which I'm going to stream live, either on my YouTube channel, on the Retro London Networks channel, I haven't decided yet, to declare the Smash Brothers champion. It's going to be December the 5th. It will include my daughter, my nephew, my little ones, and I'm also going to hopefully grab a Smash Brothers belt so they can declare who the champion is, and the winner wins the belt. So
nice.
We're going to stream that live on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/TheNerdGenius. Now, enough about gaming and gaming peripherals.
Peripherals.
There we go. I tend to butcher that.
I can't say normally. It comes out as peripherals.
Yeah, we're doing tonight's show based on TV shows that were great movies. And
yeah, we attempted to do it last night, but for those of you outside the United Kingdom, all of our ISP services in this country run on coal.
Yes.
And we were out cold last night.
So what I decided to do instead is have phone sex. Anyway, going away from that because no one wants that picture in their head. Let's focus on this.
You gave that picture to me last night, people, twice.
I did, and I sent him like pictures because that's what I do to Dave. I basically send him loads of photos of me naked just so I can freak him out. That's the reason why he has anxiety attacks. It's because of me and my naked body.
And then I upload them to the cloud so they could get hacked.
Yes, and but the thing is, I want people to see my naked body. I don't mind. Most of them are sitting there going, "You invaded my privacy." I'm like, "Yes, more please." Do you want
welcome into my fucking forum.
Who wants any more dick shots? But it's one of those things. Now, going on from that, these TV shows held the test of time in a sense. You got anything from like your Dukes of Hazzards to basically your the Avengers for those who live in the Brists,
Yeah, and in fact that was the reason they had to call Avengers Assemble in this. Call it Avengers Assemble in this country, wasn't it?
Correct. And you've had like Starsky and Hutch, you've had all these shows, Dark Shadows, quite recently.
Oh, Dark Shadows, I fucking adore that movie.
That were turned into movies. And what we're going to do, we're going to run through some of these movies, talk about them a little bit. Dave's got his lovely little list, so we're going to go through Dave's list, and I'll add a few in there for ones that I enjoyed, pretty much, and explain why. Now, these movies, as Dave has pointed out, tried to point out yesterday, we're not doing them because they're a carbon copy of the TV shows. We're doing them because they stand out despite the shows.
Yeah, we kind of touched upon it yesterday, didn't we? Which is, to me, in my mind, the ones that were successful and kind of people liked were the ones that were a homage to the recipe of the original show, but at the same time didn't take it too seriously. I know that's easy to say because some of these original shows were comedies, but they bought by giving it a tribute, but not being so committed to perfect attention to detail. It worked because you cannot replicate a 30-minute time slot in a movie.
That's exactly it. And this is the thing. What may work in terms of formula for a TV show may not work as a formula for a movie. Like, for instance, if you've seen the Buffy television series, it worked a lot more because the formula was more kind of serious, more gritty, and it had that kind of soft reboot to it. Whereas, because it did reference the film, before she came to Hill Valley, it did reference the film. And then you have the Buffy movie, which is more kind of comedy.
Yeah, it was more like almost a kid's schlockfest.
Yeah, it was like kind of Clueless with vampires.
It was popcorn candy, basically.
Correct, yeah. And that's the difference. So when you're looking at these movies, we're judging them by their standalone appeal, but we will also be referencing the previous TV shows as well, just to say what stands out. So, Dave, let's go for your first one.
The Brady Bunch movie, 1995, Paramount. Obviously based on...
Marsha!
Best broken nose in a movie ever.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Why did you choose this one?
It was on TV the other day, and I forgot. It's one of those movies that you forget you've watched, and then when you watch it, you remember how much you love it, even though you don't own it. If that makes sense. Because obviously it was originally a 70s TV series, ran from 69 to 74, about two people who got married and combined their families. So there are a bunch of boys and a bunch of girls, and it was a massive dysfunctional family. But the parents had a really strong sense of morals. But the key point is, it was obviously a 70s show. So one of the things I just think was genius and absolutely brilliant and a complete mindfuck was it's set in the 90s. But for some reason, the Brady family themselves exist within like a bubble of the 70s.
Yeah, they basically act like the Bradys from the TV show, apart from the fact that they're very tongue-in-cheek style. But everybody else is living in
Janet's got voices in her head, hasn't she, because of her supreme jealousy of Marsha.
Yeah. And I love the way that her eye twitches as that voiceover goes.
I like her when she tries to ruin Marsha's hair when she's sleeping, cuts it off, because she's so jealous, and then when she wakes up, Marsha just pulls it off because she's, that's what she does.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's just great. I love that whole fucking fucked up 70s thing, and the fact that he drives his neighbour up the wall just by being who he is, and the fact that they can't stand the fact that it's so 70s. And it's one thing I will say, it's got your standard sort of stupid cheesy plot element where it's someone wants to it's I can forget now, real estate plot thing, isn't it? With like greedy corporate businessman, I think it's his neighbour actually, trying to swindle him and stuff like that and stitch him up, and they have to raise money to buy their house back, which is a bit of a cliche, but then as we touched upon, it's a movie of a television show, so where are you going to go?
Do they become the band as well?
Yeah, and it's got Davy Jones from the Monkees in it.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it has all the cliches from the Brady Bunch TV show, but turned up a notch.
Yeah.
To the point these characters are hilarious. And it really worked because they did a second movie, didn't they?
They did, which ironically, I think they were trying to do a spin-off that didn't work, but didn't in the way they intended it, but there was a movie anyway, where right at the end of the movie, I Love Jeannie appears, doesn't she?
Yeah.
There's a third movie that's a TV movie that was made for TV, which is The Bradys in the White House, which I've not seen because I've seen the second one. I like it. It's not as good as the first, but the the third one, my brain. This makes me sound like a snob. My brain just went made for TV, not interested.
You know, but that's the same with me. I watched a made for TV Christmas movie recently with David Hasselhoff, and it was terrible because it was trying to force the comedy. And I think there's a difference between like how some film companies do it, and how when it's made for TV.
Film companies write it and it's natural, whereas TV companies write it, it's cliched because they're doing it for people who don't know their market, do it, and they expect a response as opposed to invoke a response.
Well, this one was like a Christmas movie, and David Hasselhoff was being like the major comedic idiot character, and it didn't work because he had to do everything loud. Oh, look at me, I'm being loud, and it was just like, really, just stop, David Hasselhoff. You can't do comedy. I
think someone should shoot David Hasselhoff, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah, it didn't work. And
although I would like to thank David Hasselhoff for the Baywatch years when I was at school.
And also for Knight Rider.
Yeah. Oh, and quickly, because obviously it happened, we didn't mention it last week, but Glenn A. Larson sadly passed away, didn't he?
Did he?
Yeah. Created Knight Rider, he created Battlestar Galactica, he created The Fall Guy.
Oh, I remember The Fall Guy.
Shall be sadly missed. He created my childhood, pretty much.
He did so, and mine too, actually. So let's go on a bit more about that then as well. What's the next movie on your list?
The next movie is I forget who directed it now, but you'll probably know this. And it's one of those ones where I don't know how popular this show was in the UK, because it's a well-old show, but obviously it was massive in the States, and I think a lot of people in this country, at least myself included, watched the movie, loved it, and didn't know that it was based on a TV show, and that would be The Fugitive with Harrison Ford.
Ah, yes. Now they changed this around a bit in terms of the plot. They had Tommy Lee Jones, Harrison Ford in this. A very good pairing in terms of the characters that they played.
Did Tommy Lee Jones win an Oscar or get nominated for an Oscar?
He did get nominated, I think, for it.
Because obviously it was originally a '60s TV show. Basically, is it Richard Kimball?
Yes.
Gets his wife is killed by the one. It was quote Jim Carrey. It wasn't me. It was the one-armed man. Wife gets killed by the one-armed man, and he gets framed for the murder and escapes. And then obviously in the film, Tommy Lee Jones is the agent who pursues him. And I remember it was absolutely 1993. It came out, and it was huge in this country. It grossed $368 million, and it cost $44 million to make.
So it made basically like 4 times its budget back.
But this goes the other way, doesn't it? Which is, I've since seen the original TV show, and obviously the original TV show, they have to condense a massive story arc into a movie. So obviously you could say it's more so inspired by and uses names and familiar characters to set the tone of the movie, and there are elements in it that are true, directly taken from TV shows such as The One-Armed Man and stuff like that. But essentially, it's a clever use of just using a TV show as the premise for a modern slick action movie / thriller.
And a lot of it basically was based on the fact that the chemistry of the two guys in it as well, because Tommy Lee Jones is fucking mental at him, He gives
that absolutely amazing speech. The average man walks at 3 miles an hour over open ground, and then he works out where he is, doesn't he? And tells him, how long they've got to get there and stuff. I want you to search every outhouse, doghouse. He's brilliant in this, Tommy Lee Jones. So shame they tried to make a sequel, isn't it?
Did they?
Yeah, US Marshals is actually it's not a sequel. It's got Tommy Lee Jones in it. It's the same character.
Ah, I never did. So it was kind of like a spin-off.
Yeah. Tommy Lee Jones reprised his role as Jared, because I'm sorry, that's my French kicking in. It was directed by Stuart Baird, acquiring mostly negative critical reviews, but still earned over $100 million. But most people just went, but it's not The Fugitive. Where's Harrison Ford?
Yeah.
And Harrison Ford is brilliant in this movie. And it's got some stunning action sequences as well. The bit where he's, sorry people, spoilers. He got handcuffs and chains, leg irons and chains when he's, his bust gets hit by a train, doesn't it?
They parodied that in The Simpsons. When Homer's like. The prison van gets hit by the train, and Homer's just like teetering on his little toes as the bus is getting destroyed. So tell us a little bit about what makes it different from the TV show. What's
It's the opposite basically, because obviously the TV show was episodic, and it took time to spell out this massive story. And basically it was suspense driven, and it drip fed you little bits of clues and stuff every week, and built up the story out. Whereas the movie is pretty much, I don't even want to say a condensed version of that. It's because it's in there, but it's basically, right, we got 2 hours to do this. So it's bang, 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 bang. It's just fast paced. It's a polished action movie more so, and it's a thriller. But the TV show was obviously a lot more. Which I guess you would say about any TV show. It's a lot more slow paced because it's episodic. It's basically a perfect example of reversing the TV show in some degree, and that's why I think they pulled it off, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it would have been like Hobbit length, and people would have just got bored halfway through, regardless of how good the performance of the actors was.
Yeah, I think when you get like 2 actors and you get great chemistry along with great writing, it really pulls the movie off. In terms of the TV show, though, they had a lot more time to tell the story, where with these two, they had to tell that story within that short period of time. Like the movie was like 2 hours, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much there or thereabouts.
Yeah, so within that, you're telling a whole entire series in 2 hours. Takes a lot.
Well, that's just exactly. But that's what I mean. It's almost like a PowerPoint presentation version of the show.
Yeah.
But then with a jolt of adrenaline and polished up in 90s action form.
Or like telling a show in 5 minutes or less, like Cinema Sins does. So going off from that one, next one on your list.
Oh, this one I think is an absolute genius one. Obviously the first movie's still the best, but this is a perfect example of you can make TV show into a movie and just extend it, make it basically a long episode, and that doesn't work for so many things, but it works for The Naked Gun. The Naked Gun.
Yes, that was based on the TV show Police Squad.
Yes, which only ran for 6 episodes, I believe.
Correct.
Or no, possibly 2 seasons. No, 6 episodes. Which is it was an 80s TV comedy cop show with Leslie Nielsen. The late great Leslie Nielsen. We miss you. And basically anyone who's watched it knows it didn't take itself seriously at all. It was complete and utter openly ribbing and taking the piss out of cop shows. Is this some kind of bust? Yes, ma'am. It's very impressive, and it's just nothing but one-liners and gags. And at the end of every episode, when the credits ran up, they would just pretend like they're doing shows when it would pause. Like in TJ Hooker, it would pause with people like high-fiving. They would just fake that by standing still. Sometimes it was hilarious because he'd be pouring a cup of coffee and then he'd just stand there pretending that they were freeze-framed and the coffee would just keep pouring and pouring and pouring. But The Naked Gun, the original one, I think the tagline is Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad, released in 1988. Obviously there were 3 movies. I hate the third one. Second one's alright. First one is just absolute genius, but it is basically a movie or 2 hours of a 2-hour-long episode of Police Squad. But then I guess that's the difference, isn't it? With some really farcical comedies, they possibly do, loan themselves to be just one long, hour or 2-hour length episode of a show, don't they? Because they don't have to be credible, they don't have to be based on realism, they don't have to win any awards, they just have to be fucking goofy.
That's pretty much it, and it's, a lot of it's relied on the fact that Leslie Nielsen plays an old man with Down syndrome throughout the entire movie. His character is hilarious.
It's got that epic line where you think he's looking up Priscilla Presley's dress when she's up the ladder on getting a book off the shelf at the top of her library rack, and he just goes, "Nice beaver," and then the camera pulls up to her and she's got a stuffed beaver in her hand and she just goes, "Thanks, I just had it stuffed."
Yeah, it's basically very, very comedic in its own sense. So again, what do you think this did that the TV show didn't?
Well, that's just it. That was the point I was trying to make. This did everything the TV show did. Turned up 10. I think it knew that it was perfect. Because you got to remember, at this point in the 80s, comedies, stuff like Police Academy and things like that. Comedies were like cheesy comedies were big, box office, and I think they just suddenly went, hey, why don't we just make a movie out of this? Think about it. It's got movie written on it. It's like I said, it's the anti-Christ of what I was saying earlier on, which is some things don't transfer into movie form, but this is what we do. We goof off. Why don't we goof off for an hour and a half as opposed to 30 minutes? I think you very rarely get that happen with a TV show where you can basically just go, this is cinema gold. We can just make the TV show with a bigger budget and people will love it.
Yeah, and it has worked with a few different directors. Judd Apatow started his career in Kids in the Hall, and then went from there to Change.
Also, let's quickly we got to talk about the elephant in the room. Yes, people, O.J. Simpson's in this movie,
and he doesn't kill anyone, or allegedly kill anyone. Or tries to go bursting in with guns because people had his memorabilia.
Yeah, I'm glad he did that though, because it meant he was finally accountable for a crime that he was not charged for, but in the sense that he went down. But anyway, this is not a political show.
Exactly.
Cough, he did it. Sorry, people, allegedly.
But again, his character worked for it.
He's actually really funny in it.
Yeah. Very, very funny.
And also, obviously, the third one, even though I'm not a massive fan of it, does have one of my favourite silhouette scenes in a movie, because Anna Nicole Smith's in it. And obviously, it's at the height of her Playboy fame, and she's really, really fit, and she's getting undressed for Frank Drebin. And the funny thing is, you only see the silhouette of her on the wall. And as she takes her pants down, you just see a silhouette slong go. Frank Drebin's face just hits the floor. Oh, all right, that one was actually, it's not as bad as I remember, but the first one is gold. People, if you've not seen, first of all, you need to see Police Squad, because as I said, they're perfect. They complement each other. See Police Squad, it's only 6 episodes long. It's hilarious, and then watch The Naked Gun.
And then just for kicks, watch Sledgehammer afterwards.
Oh, Sledgehammer! I forgot all about it. Oh, did they even make a movie there?
That's like the unprecedented successor to Police Squad. Because it's so fucking funny. He ends up destroying the whole of New York in season 1. It's great.
I just remember that when one sequence, because my parents used to tape it for us when we were kids, and there's a bit where the lady opens her purse on the desk and he sticks his hand in and then pulls out, and it's a cheap cliche joke, I know, but pulls out a fucking rocket launcher, and it's just going up and up and up and up and up out of this tiny little woman's purse on the desk. You can buy it. I did see it in HMV, but obviously HMV is ridiculously expensive, and I would never give them my money because they're bastards.
Very much so. Now, moving on from that one, let's go for your next one, Dave.
I would like to talk about Gotta Do It, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original Golden Harvest movie. It was obviously a co-production between, Golden Harvest, so it was co-production between the East and the West, and it was then based upon the huge original phase that was the cartoon Turtles.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, when it was first being pitched to studios, no American studio wanted to distribute it. So they went with Golden Harvest, who's basically the studio behind most of the American and UK imports of Chinese movies.
Home of Jackie Chan.
Yeah, and Bruce Lee.
And Bruce Lee. And Jackie Chan's into Bruce Lee movies, let's not forget.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're of mine and Mike's age, I'm pretty sure, at least in the United Kingdom, you grew up on renting, Jackie Chan and Golden Harvest movies, poorly dubbed, which was part of the joy when you were a kid, from your local video store.
Correct. And so what made this kind of different? Because I know they had the puppeteering.
Jim Henson, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, which really, he made those turtles pop. The animatronics on those looked amazing. I loved the dark humour in the first movie. The second movie, they kind of went a bit...
Second movie's enjoyable, but got a little bit too light-hearted.
Then we also have the third movie, aka that movie we shall not talk about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. That we wiped our memories just because of that movie. But again, it's the Turtles movie itself did what most movies that had adapted from comic books didn't really, they kind of shied away from, any movies apart from Batman, of course, which was they took a property that wasn't really human in a sense, and they made it work. You know, April O'Neil, they had her in the yellow coat. You know, she didn't resemble the reporter that you saw in the cartoon, but she was very sassy.
Casey Jones is awesome in this movie.
He is.
He's my favourite turtle character to this day because of this movie, more so than the cartoon.
Yeah, because he's.
I agree with you. It
asshole.
had yeah. Not saying I'm an arsehole, people, just a pinch. But no, I agree with you. It's the fact that, and I think this is why it was such a hit. And while the subsequent movies probably made money, but I think that's why people turned off them compared to this there was that dark element in there. They're not just dark in tone, but it was shot deliberately to be like, these are creatures that live in the night because they have to, because they can't be seen. Yeah. So a lot of it's night scenes, night fights, subways, sewers, stuff like that. I think something else that makes this movie really kick, which they'd never do now, and I didn't hate the new Turtles movie. I thought I was really opposed to it when I heard about it. After at least he changed them to being turtles and not fucking aliens, made it slightly better. But what was great about this movie, and this is a testament to Golden Harvest, because obviously this is why the West should have embraced Golden Harvest and got them to make movies, in Hollywood beforehand, because they're very much practical hands-on effects. So these suits were amazing, and I remember the actors talking about it at the time. They were really, really heavy. Yet all the martial arts you see in it, there's no wire play. There's not, there's not CG. It's blokes are doing these moves and fighting like this quick, and moving these weapons in suits that weigh, pounds and pounds and pounds and pounds, and that, I think, to me, that's just absolutely amazing. But then that's always been the sort of way that Hong Kong cinema has worked, hasn't it?
Yeah, they have the combination of stunts as well as likable characters, and it worked really well. It took the Hong Kong cinema,
because it was martial artists in the suits, but obviously their voices were done by voice actors. And isn't Corey Feldman the voice of Donatello?
Correct, he is. And I felt that the characters had more chemistry in this movie, more organic. Whereas the Michael Bay movie, they seemed a lot more forced.
It was, they tried the whole comedy thing a little bit too much in that movie. Like the kitten videos on YouTube and stuff, and the bit when, sorry people, spoilers, Mikey takes his mask off and goes, "It's okay," because he's screaming at him.
Whoa. It's just a mask. See?
And you're like, this isn't funny. This is like, dude, I mean, I know what you're going for. Maybe it's because I'm a cynical adult, but I'm looking at the other people in the room right now, and there aren't any kids fucking laughing at this.
Yeah, it's one of those that really didn't work for what it was. But in terms of the TV show, this differed because it gave it a lot more of a darker tone, rather than as opposed to light-hearted humour of the Turtles TV show.
It encapsulated its spirit, but I would definitely say that this was, if the sequels were more like this was a positive progression from the animated sequels.
Yeah, I think it got ruined by the fact that the sequels weren't like this. The second one was okay, the third one was just terrible. Plus,
second one does have one of my favourite physical joke scenes ever. The fight at the start with Ernie Reyes Jr., that kid. I don't know what happened to him, but he was an absolutely amazing Asian American kid who was
he was in Surf Ninjas, and he was also the Raphael stunt double. They moved him away from doing that and featured him prominently in the movie as the pizza delivery.
He's good at it, but yeah. I like the fight at the start where they end up in they're fighting in a mall and for Foot Clan and whatever, and they end up in the toy department of the mall, and I think it's Leonardo or Mikey, I forget. It's been a while since I see this one. And he those you used to get those big figures, those inflatable figures on a Sabutio base that you can punch and they go to the floor and come straight back up. He pretends to be one of them. And it's absolutely hilarious because the bloke's pushing him, but you can see his eyes moving, but he stays perfectly still. That's comic gold. But other than that, the first movie, as far as I'm concerned, is a standalone movie. And if you love the Turtles TV show, then I guarantee you'll love this more. And people might say well, yeah, but they went dark. They went just dark enough, is how I would describe it.
Yeah, and it's a shame because the execs got involved from the second movie onwards, and you can
then used it to sell toys.
Yeah, they really like destroyed the essence of what this movie was. Now, moving on from that, Dave, next movie.
Maverick. 1994's Maverick. Directed by Richard Donner and based on the 1950s James Garner show.
Starring Mel Gibson and Jodie Foster.
Yep, and let's not forget James Garner. There you go, here's a throwback to the show, but done well. He's not just a cameo in this, he has a main role. But they play him as sort of the complete opposite to what because obviously he's older at this point, to what he was in the TV show.
Yes.
Basically, how would you describe Maverick? I describe him, he's like a gambling con artist who just like hijinks his way and rips people off at poker.
Yeah, and gets into a load of hijinks.
Yeah, and it's set in the Old West. I mean, I've only seen a few episodes of the original show, so I can't directly see how it compares. But the reason I think this works is, well, A, you've only got to look at its box office, and B, it was quite well critically, received. So it's like they didn't just pan out crap. They knew how to, again, because obviously the Maverick TV show, what I know of it, of the 6 or 7 episodes I've seen, it wasn't so much episodic, telling a continuous story. It was just, what shows were in the 50s, which is self-contained stories, across an entire season.
Yeah.
And so this kind of condenses that idea of the character in each of these episodes as opposed to a story and comes up with its own story. And it's set in the Old West. Brett Maverick is one of his misadventures. He's on his way to a 5-card poker tournament, and besides wanting to win the prize money, he also wants to prove once for all he's the best card player of all time, ever. It's fictional. He rides into the fictional town of Crystal River, intending to collect money owed to him as he's $3,000 short. That must have been a shitload of money back then. Of the tournament entry, fuck me, that's even more, of $25,000. Jesus Christ. He runs into a fellow who doesn't know she's a con artist at the start, and she's brilliant in this movie, Jodie Foster. She plays him brilliantly. But plays him as a fool brilliantly, if that makes sense. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
And obviously the lawman, who would have been, the original Maverick, James Garner, he plays the lawman who's here to police this town. And it's just hijinks. It's fun. There's brilliant action sequences, even though they're all played for comedy. There's some wonderful cameos. There's actually a Danny Glover cameo, where Danny Glover's, I think he's robbing a bank, and Maverick he's got like a bandana across the bottom half of his face, and he pulls it down, and he sees Danny Glover, and he makes his facial expression like, I've got a really weird feeling of deja vu, and it actually plays that little jazz riff from Lethal Weapon, and it doesn't take itself seriously, but it is a solid action movie, albeit a comedy action movie. Great characters, great chemistry amongst all the cast, and it's a perfect example of, we can't make a Maverick, movie of a specific sort of story that you expect, apart from the natural con man and hijinks, because it was self-contained episodes, so it's very much in spirit of the show, and then it runs with its own thing.
That's exactly it, and
quite expensive. I'm looking at the budget right now. Jesus Christ! It was released in May 1994. It cost $75 million,
and it was also in basically Mel Gibson's prime. This is when Gibson was earning tons of money,
and not a complete anti-Semitic twat.
Yes, and I have stated that he may be in real life people may dislike him, but he is a really good actor.
He is a really good actor. I'm more disappointed with his recent behaviour than I am, with the movies I've seen, if that makes sense.
I agree.
It's just, you put these people on a pedestal, you expect better from them.
Now, moving on from that, next one, Dave.
I think it's the elephant in the room. We got to talk about it. It's a bit of a cliche, but I'm going to pick a specific. Excuse me. I'm going to pick a specific movie, but I guess I'm talking about the franchise. And this kind of comes back to, you can, elongate an episode into a full movie. In this case, pretty much just 2.5 times as long, and that would be Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. I mean, I'm talking about Star Trek franchise, but obviously the original 60s TV show that only ran for 3 seasons. I'm always surprised when I think about that only ran for 3 seasons. And ended up being more popular because obviously it was broadcast originally on, not free TV in the States. I forget what you guys call it. And then it was only in syndication and reruns where it became absolutely massively successful because its viewing figures slumped when it was first shown on the premium TV channel, and it was only in syndication where it became massively successful, and people realised that there's some this is marketable. Look at this, people absolutely love and adore this. And I think it was originally they were talking about doing a Star Trek 80, which was basically going to be kind of the original cast and crew back in a new TV series, and it ended up spawning into Star Trek The Motion Picture, which is a wonderful, wonderful looking movie from production standards and visual effects and everything like that. But I think everyone agrees, which is the original Star Trek movie is just fucking confusing and long.
Yes, it is, and then it can become more confusing.
Then you get, well, he's a bloke, she's a robot, now they're one, and the room's gone all spazzy. I'm confused.
God.
But the special effects are phenomenal in it. But this is why I'm talking about the franchise, because it's something that was, as I said, perfectly TV form lent itself to a movie, because you just make a twice as long episode, if you will. I think they, if I'm correct in thinking, didn't they recycle quite a lot of shots that they didn't use from the original movie to do the special effects in this one really cheap, because it had a really, really small budget compared to the original one, and most of the stuff other than that was set work. And they brought back a known character, Khan, from the original TV show, same actor as well, which is a great little tie in there, and they made it super dark. And it's got that horrible creepy of it. Sorry, people, spoilers. It scared the shit out of me when I was a kid, where you can mind control people by putting bugs in their space helmet, shutting the helmet and letting it burrow in their ear. Oh, they just shivered. I really need to find my copy of this and watch it again.
So, going on from that, Dave, let's do your next movie.
The Twilight Zone movie.
Yes. Now this did a bit differently in comparison to the TV series, because Twilight Zone TV series, you had different stories per episode, where this movie kind of combined that. It's an
anthology, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like a Treehouse of Horror sort of thing.
Yeah. So
it was released in 1983. It was actually produced by Spielberg and John Landis.
Yes, it was.
Based on the original 1959 and 1960s Twilight Zone movie episodes.
In that?
Absolutely, yeah. John Lithgow. Some of the stories actually retellings of the TV show. My favourite would be John Lithgow on the plane recreating the original William Shatner episode, Danger at 30,000 feet.
Shatner noticed and got him on Star Trek. So there we go.
And it's very, very dark, but it's and there's also what is it? There was a horrific on-set accident, wasn't there, that killed a person and 2 children or something?
Yeah.
I don't want to. That makes me sound like I'm cheapening it because I don't know the entire fact.
That was the rumour.
Yeah, was it a helicopter accident or something?
Something like that, yeah.
But the film is basically a remake of 3 classic episodes of the original series, and 1 original story. Landis directed the prologue and the first segment. Spielberg directed the second, and Joe Dante. It was Joe Dante. I did not know that. The third, and George Miller the fourth. All I will say is the gremlin on a plane in this movie is just absolutely. As someone who's not a massive fan of flying. Don't get me wrong, people, I've flown a lot. It was my job in like 6 years. I wasn't a pilot. I mean, I had to fly around. Wish I was a pilot, and then I get all the birds. But yeah, it's that is absolutely terrifying. That's it. Oh, the film gained notoriety before its release for the tragic stunt helicopter crash, which took the lives of Vic Morrow and 2 child actors, Micah Din and Lee Renee Shin. Chen. I'm sorry if I just butchered those names, people. But yeah, during a segment of the movie that was directed by John Landis, that accident happened. The death led to a high-profile legal case. Although in the end of the trial, no one was criminally held culpable for the accident. But basically, and it's also got is it Dan Aykroyd when it's got the hitchhiker? I got to see there's a Blu-ray version of this.
And
it's like you want to see.
He turns into the monster because he's like, do you want to see something scary?
Yeah.
And again, it's a very different kind of, show.
Yeah, but it's how you would make a movie of the Twilight Zone. It's almost like Creepshow, isn't it? In the sense that it's like, right, well, we can't make a specific movie about a certain event because the Twilight Zone was nothing but, self-contained stories, be it sci-fi or horror, but all ultimately intended to, give you a twist and scare you. So what do? Simple. And I think more movies should do this. I miss it, stuff like this. We'll make an anthology, a terror anthology.
Well,
kind of like what they did with the League of Gentlemen's Christmas special.
Yes, they did. And just so we know, guys, we've got Patty in the chat here. If you want to join us, just go to youtube.com/Unlim Radio and join us in the chat. And I'm just going through Pat's chats here. She talks about Landis here. Says, it wasn't a rumor. Landis was brought into court on charges of negligent homicide. And she also talks about the fact that the show was silly fun. Because you talked about the Wild Wild West, the film that was a Kevin Smith spider joke. It's silly fun, but the show stands miles above the film. But I think the film was aimed at 10-year-olds, so meh.
Well, the film's still good, Patty. It's not going to live up to the original show, obviously.
And she said that The Fugitive is the most boring show. She tried so bloody hard. Thank goodness the movie came along.
Ask her where she stands on Marshalls.
And she also says that we're too old for The Secret of the Use because, we're old stuffy shirts.
We're not too old. When did that come out? 93? I would have been 16. Yeah, you're right. I'm too old. Sorry.
So going on, Dave, your next movie.
I'm old. I'm all upset now. The Untouchables.
The Untouchables. Oh, this one's really good because it's the first time you've ever seen Sean Connery die with not being.
The first time you've ever seen his accent change twice in a movie.
Yes. The funny thing about this, for those of you who know, Sean Connery had a lot of success, away from James Bond. Mirage in Highlander.
Yes. I see my cuts improve your voice.
Yes means yes. And he also was in The Untouchables, trying to play like he was from Boston.
He was an Irish Boston cop.
Yeah, which...
And for like about 25 minutes, there's somewhat of an accent in there, and then all of a sudden it just stops, and he just becomes Scottish Sean Connery. His death sequence is amazing, though. No, it was released in 1987. It's an American crime drama, and people always overlook this. I don't know why, because he's such a famous director, but people always seem to think that this isn't one of his movies, and it's Brian De Palma.
Yes, and it was on the highlight of the success of a few men, including Connery and Kevin Costner as well.
I just want to say I hate Kevin Costner, but he's superb in this.
Yeah, and De Niro is amazing in this movie.
Yeah. So basically it's based on the original TV show, which is actually based on a book, which is, Officer Jimmy Malone, by the way. That's Sean Connery's character.
And
who was apparently a real officer.
He loves The Untouchables, by the way.
It follows, it's based on Elliot Ness's autobiographical account, big word, can't pronounce it, of the efforts of him and his gang that was introduced, that basically said, like, people can't stop you, we're giving you free reign to do whatever means you need to bring in this, mobster.
Yes.
And so it's a fictionalized account of real, memoirs. And it's funny. I always find it really ironic that what actually they caught Elliot Ness on.
Yeah.
Considering all the barbaric, horrific things he did. And also what he actually died of.
Scurvy?
Syphilis.
Ah, yes.
But they got him on tax in the end, didn't they?
Yeah.
It was a financial success. It grossed $76 million, and that was just domestically. It won it was nominated for 4 Academy Awards, but it won Best Supporting Actor. Yeah, Sean Connery's Oscar, isn't it, this?
Yeah, she goes, she still loves listening to him speak Japanese or Chinese, I forgot, in the film with Wesley Snipes. I want to say it was called Rising Sun. I think it was.
That was a. Is that a? Oh fuck! Who directed that? Shit! Was it the bloke who did Alien 3? Christ, I can't remember. It's got that amazing beheading scene. But yeah, budget for this movie was 25 million, and it took 106 million. But basically, it's got so many great set pieces, like the baby. Sorry, people, spoilers, but it's a movie show. You expect that. The baby and the
baby scene, that's so iconic.
Yeah,
because
and
they
also
used it in a lot of different movies and parodies as well.
I'm watching TV in the background, and Dramas just started screening all old school Doctor Who episodes on a Sunday. This makes me very happy. Sorry, people, you didn't need to know that. But it's also got some iconic, quotable moments if you're in the pub with your mates, with such a. But most of it, let's be honest, is Sean Connery when he does that. What's it? He sends one of yours to the hospital, and you send one of his to the morgue. Genius, but yeah.
Yeah,
and I think so.
Penny. I mean, wrong movie.
This is basically a condensed version of the show, or some of the show, which is, you know, because it's basically a condensed version of a show that's a condensed version of the autobiography of Alien X. To quote Austin Powers, "Oh no, I've just gone cross-eyed."
Yeah, it's one of those where if you haven't seen it, I think you should. It stands the test of time. It's a very good, compelling movie. And the difference between this and the TV show is the TV show had more of kind of a PG-esque center to it, where this was more of like your young adults, your 15s, because of the amount of action and even.
I think it was an R-rated movie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's weird. I say this every week, but we talk about these things, and all of a sudden I start making a massive mental list of stuff I really need to watch again.
So moving on from that one, next movie.
Mission Impossible.
This movie was something.
This movie confuses me. I watch it, but I enjoy it, but I never completely quite understand it.
So what differs from the Mission Impossible movie to the TV show?
It's far more dark and backstabbing and conspiracy driven than the TV show. The TV show was a spy espionage, show, but there were, darker elements and episodes, but more than not, it was light-hearted. It was, here's your mission. By the way, and they kept this in the movie, which I love. Had that whole, we're going to give you a message that we tell you, what you got to do. By the way, get rid of it before the end of it because it'll blow up. This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds. Genius.
So the one thing as well that they had in this was there was a huge conspiracy going on, and Ethan Hunt, Tom Cruise's character, ends up basically going it alone for most of the time because his whole original team gets killed off.
There's something very almost kind of conspiracy dark X-Files in this, which is probably what they went for because of how successful that show was at the time.
Yes.
Got some absolutely fantastic special effects that really do hold up, to like modern movies. Iconic scenes, where he can't touch the floor, where they're breaking into a building and he can't touch the floor, so he slides down on the rope. Do you remember that bit?
Yeah.
But then the whole backstabbing and changing of who's the real bad guy at the end, that's where I get confused. I'm not saying I'm intelligent, people, that's where I get confused.
Yeah, it's where the ties to the kind of TV show finish. It becomes. It's
inspired by, but ultimately it's its own property, and you could argue that the franchise in itself now is just literally we're like America's 007.
Yeah.
A security agency, and we're based on a Mission Impossible, but we are officially our own sort of property right now. We've cut our own niche out.
And also, Tom Cruise is basically the executive producer for these movies as well. Again, it started off great. The problem is they keep making more and more of these movies, and it just keeps
I do like the second one though because it was John Woo, wasn't it?
Correct. Gave it a bit of different kind of.
And it's got people buy the second one on DVD if you see it super cheap because on the special features it's got that MTV Movie Award sequence where Ben Stiller, they make this little mockumentary of Ben Stiller and Tom Cruise because it turns out that Ben Stiller is Tom Cruise's stunt double in it. He's not for real. It's hilarious.
And just so you know, Patty goes, I like the show. Kind of never really got into the films, but I blame Tom Cruise because he's irritating me even before he started driving the crazy train. He is irritating.
Woo!
He's kind of a victim of his own success, in his own words. So again, what differs this from the TV show is the TV show is more layered. You get the missions are kind of more. They're very different. You know, you never stick to one mission.
Yeah. Whereas this, I would say, takes itself. It was never going to be a comedy because that would be Naked Gun, but this takes itself very, very seriously and tries to spin many, many stories all at once. That I think, at least in the first one, to me anyway, kind of get a little bit convoluted and confusing. But don't let that detract from the fact that this is a very, very solidly produced movie. Do you know it cost $500 million to make?
Yes, and also it kind of put the Jason Bourne before Jason Bourne even existed.
Yes. I think Bourne movies, even though they were based on books, wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the success of, at least initially, this first movie, because I'm sure a lot of people in Hollywood, at the back of their brain, just went, right, we need to go and find some fucking novels or some TV shows or something that's all kind of badass spy and espionage. Because that's the other difference between this and the TV show. The TV show, while it was trying to be serious, was also light-hearted, whereas the Ethan Hunt in this they portrayed was basically, he was supposed to be like your cold, completely well-trained clinical expert, at everything he does, whether it's fighting, espionage, like sneaking around, infiltration and stuff like that. He was just like that person that was just like, he was like Judge Dredd but in spy form.
Ouch.
That's the worst analogy ever.
It was. So moving on from that one, let's.
You might just bear with me, people, but I like this, and this is how you do. It comes back to what I was talking about with the Brady Bunch.
Yes.
This is how you would do this movie, and that would be the Starsky and Hutch 2004 film.
And the reason why this one got really great, it's got good reviews, all around a good movie, was because of the chemistry between Ben Stiller and
Owen Wilson.
Correct.
And technically, what people don't realise, well, I guess because lots of people who saw this now wouldn't necessarily be familiar or know of the original source material, which is obviously the 1970s police drama, which was also Starsky and Hutch, with the amazing Ford Torino car, one of my favourite TV cars of all time. But that was very much played seriously. And they had an informant who was Huggy Bear, who's played by Snoop Dogg in this, and he's brilliant in this. But
he's basically playing Snoop Dogg, which is funny because there's loads of fun bits to it, including the Vince Vaughn playing the bad guy.
Oh, Vince Vaughn is absolutely superb in this.
I love when they shoot the horse. they basically like start unloading their weapons at this garage. And they open the fucking garage, and the horse.
It's a kid's birthday party, by the way.
Yeah, the horse just goes bang, and the door.
Oh, and they got amazing disguises. But yeah, basically it just goes, right, we're going to be a homage to, and everything that was of that show will be in it. But we can't possibly do that show because people will expect it to be a gritty crime drama. And then if you did Starsky and Hutch on the big screen as a gritty crime drama, it will end up with the bollocks that was the Miami Vice movie.
Yeah.
So they just make it, just a gag fest, but it's so watchable and enjoyable. And also, what most people don't pick up on is they actually flip the characters of Starsky and Hutch, so they kind of got the opposite character of what they had from the original show. So it's vice versa, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and they flipped the straight guy to the kind of the very relaxed, and again these two gel very well. They work really well. And they're part of a group, including Vince Vaughn, called the Frat Pack. And
yes,
they're all very. They have such great chemistry. They work well together, and they always make the other guy look good. And this movie is no exception. They even have that whole running cameo thing where he's doing like fucking kung fu on the beach.
Yeah, and if you watch very, very carefully, you'll see that his headphones, his batteries fall out of his headphones. He's got like those, old school 80s headphones or something that, like radio basically, headphones. But if you watch it when he falls over, the batteries fall out.
Yes. And also the fact that these guys basically end up working together in solving the mystery by accident.
And I've got to be honest, and it's the way he plays it, but Owen Wilson's character in this, he's I say Owen Wilson's character because I always get the names confused. He's not a nice cop. He's a bit of a douche. He takes people's wallets off, like the dead and stuff,
Yeah, and then you have like Ben Stiller, who's super serious, acting like he's a military man, but both of them are complete and utter nerds.
And let's not forget, they openly reference in it, and it's hilarious that Ben Stiller has a perm.
Yes.
It's not a perm, it's just to bring out the natural curls.
They do meet the original Starsky and Hutch at the end.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, they get him a new Ford Torino because his drops into the drink, doesn't it?
Yes. And again, great time had by all in this one. A very enjoyable movie. It's something that I'd like to watch again because it's just really good.
Dude, I guarantee you can pick up at least 7 copies for £1 in your local cash converters.
You probably could. And going on from that, Dave.
This is my final movie. This is my list. There are a few more I could talk about, but these are the ones that I do actually genuinely really care about and enjoy, if that makes sense.
Oh, by the way, and Patty said that the reason that you enjoy the film is the car. And Will Ferrell's dragon thing in jail, nuts but oddly hilarious.
And all I know is, right, I'll find a picture of it. It was on my Flickr account somewhere, but I can't get into that anymore. There's a bloke, for those of you in North America, there, and everywhere else, I mainly say North America because obviously you had the Ford Torino. We had a car that was nothing like it, but it was kind of the Ford Capri. And there is a bloke in my hometown that has an orange Ford Capri with, I'll find this picture, with the big white stripe going down the side. And the bottom line is, half of you are torn between laughing at it, but the second half of you turns into a 12-year-old and just goes, that's cool. He thinks he's Starsky and Hutch. Actually, that's not Bristolian. Because I wouldn't be here talking to you, I'd be in the car park nicking your wheels. Sorry.
You would be. Like we all would, Dave. We would all just nick someone's wheels. So going on from the Starsky and Hutch reference.
This is my final movie, and I absolutely adore this movie. You've already mentioned it, and people don't understand why I love this movie. And I do own the best of box set for the DVD of the original TV show, which was kind of weird because it was a daytime drama, as opposed to what you would think would be a late night sitcom, or not sitcom, a late night serial based on its subject matter, and that would be 2012's Dark Shadows.
Yeah, Dark Shadows was a different animal because the drama itself that it was based on, the serial that it was based on, had a rather different kind of premise to it in a sense. They tried to make a soap with these supernatural characters in them. Yeah, that's what it was. That's what the word I was looking for. It was basically a soap opera, but with, the undead. Yeah. But it was a whole kind of different ambiance. Now, the way that they produced it this time around, it had Burton, Johnny Depp, of course, and they tried to make it
Michelle
Pfeiffer.
Pfeiffer.
It was more tongue in cheek, in a sense. But it was only tongue in cheek because the character that Depp played was kind of out of his element. He had.
It worked. It really worked. They played more on the fact because it does. The original TV show ran from 1966 to 1971, and his character is pretty much based on, from the box that I got that I watched, it's true to it. He awakes and goes back to restore his family fortune because his current family are in ruin. And even though he's a vampire, he kind of comes to this, not arrangement, because it's funny. I like this element, in the show and in the movie, which is, I may be a vampire, I may kill people for a living, but you're family. And so, he sets about restoring, his empire. And like you said, Mike, it's the man out of time, out of place, and that's where most jokes come from. But they're really, really well worked. Like when he's walking down the road. And the car's coming up to him at dark with the headlights on, and he's like, he actually shits his pants and things, and the best bit is when he rips the back off the television because there's a musical on the front, and he just goes, show yourself, tiny songstress. And it has an amazing cameo by Alice Cooper in.
and it's one of those where the problem is it came out at the wrong time because it was just as Depp's kind of star was fading, in a sense. You know.
Yeah, it came out when he'd made a few bad decisions on turkeys, basically.
Yeah.
Because if this came out like during the original first two Pirates of the Caribbean sort of era, I think it would have been an absolute massive, success.
And I agree, and
I love it though. It's not just a guilty pleasure. I really do love this movie because I think it's solid and enjoyable, and I like that whole man out of place, comedic element. But also, I like the 70s. What can I say? But there are dark horror moments in this. There are some very, sort of quite dark horror moments.
But it's also very cheeky as well at the same time.
Yeah, and it has a really sort of poignant kind of, love element running through it. You find your true love, and you're thinking like, oh, lift the curse, and then he goes totally fucking dark side at the end and does what he has to do to survive, make his one true love survive, which is basically turn her into a vampire.
Yep, and that's the big thing here. It's one of those that really does set the tone for it itself, but it doesn't stick to the formula of its predecessor.
It takes the characters and the premise, and then goes, we're our own thing, basically.
Correct.
It could be. Basically, they could have made this movie, and it didn't have to be Dark Shadows, but they used Dark Shadows, I guess, to give it a branding. Holy shit! I can't quite surprise it was Tim Burton. This movie bombed in the States, but it actually made its money back in the world stage, in the world markets, where it's really well received. I know it did really well in the UK. It cost 150 million. And so I guess technically this makes it a failure by those fucking Suits and Hollywood standards, but it took £245,527,000 back. Yes. So to you or me, that's not a failure, but to them it is.
And speaking of another failure that kind of worked but kind of didn't, the Dukes of Hazzards.
Oh, I was going to mention that as my honourable mention.
Yeah, it's. I was going to add that to the honourable mention as well. You took two actors, well, in kind of a looser sense. You got the guy who played Stifler.
Yeah.
And you've got the dude who likes to
Johnny Knoxville.
Likes to hit himself in the balls. And you put these two in a movie of the Dukes of Hazzards. The thing that I think didn't work was they tried to make this the exact same thing.
Yes, exactly.
As a TV show. And this gives you a how not to do it.
There are elements in it, though, which simply because the TV, and I love the TV show, I got the box sets, that simply because of, if you're of our age, or if you like cars, or just slapstick, you can just live from the TV show and they work, such as when they drive the General Lee and they do the stunts and stuff. That's a good point I want to make quickly as well, because they do insane jumps in this. Right at the end of the Starsky and Hutch movie, they actually make a point of taking the piss out of the fact that you could not do those stunts with a car, and the Ford Torino jumps and it lands, and as it lands you see the whole front end of the car crack, and then it just does another cut and it skids around the corner perfectly fine.
And that's another thing, it's you really, with the Dukes of Hazzards,
there is chemistry. That's one good point.
Chemistry, and
there is chemistry between Knoxville
well, playing Daisy, and she falls
right
flat.
Is superb as Boss Hogg.
Yeah, Boss Hogg as well.
And he said, "What, dude, you're going to wear a white suit after Labor Day?"
It's one of those things where I just don't feel that the humour translated properly. I think it wasn't because of the acting. I don't think that they were the problem. I think the problem was
it tried too hard.
Yeah, it tried too hard to be what the TV show was, and that's where the problem laid. It didn't show effectively what they could have done with the property, and thus it bombed. And it didn't, they didn't make another one, and it's a shame. Sean William Scott is a fun actor, very good at what he does. Johnny Knoxville's okay, he's passable. But
he's got a lot better at acting since then, shall we say?
Yeah, but I just don't
he's a
think
good actor now. I'm not saying he's Oscar winning, but he's a good actor now. But he was kind of, I mean, I'm not an expert, so sorry, Johnny, if you're watching, and if you are, why aren't you punching yourself in the face and blowing your penis up so we can get Jackass 4?
Yeah,
but
and I just don't think
he's cutting his teeth at this point, isn't he?
at all. Which was where the problem lay, and it was. Again,
I think one of our future episodes should be a retrospective of the Jackass movies. Sorry.
But yeah, that's pretty much it on that, guys. Let us know what your favourite TV show turned to movies are, and what lessons you kind of learned from it. Do you agree with?
And if you've not seen any of these but are familiar with the TV show, watch them and let us know what you think.
Yeah, of course, and that's the main thing, because we've seen loads of TV shows being remade, loads of movies being remade to TV shows, and vice versa.
And especially with Hollywood getting so stale now, I think it's safe to say on the cards that every year from here onwards there will be a plethora, I should say.
So you're getting it from me.
Yeah. Plethora of TV shows turned into movies.
Yeah.
As long as the rumored Baywatch movie doesn't happen, I'll be happy.
Oh yeah, the one with Dwayne Johnson.
Oh, and one honourable final mention of something that never happened, but I'm glad. I would have liked it if it did, because at the time this show didn't exist. It was in hiatus, but they've since brought the show back. But there was originally the revival of Red Dwarf was going to be a movie, a British-made movie, and they actually and lots of the script ended up turning into the Red Dwarf 10 TV series.
Well, I'm glad that happened.
It's funny because it's down now, but there was originally an official BBC website when they were documenting it, in sound bites and in statements and press clips, in interviews with the cast, the progress of the movie, and then it just stopped, and then everyone thought Red Dwarf died, and then Dave brought it back. You're welcome.
Yeah, Dave, you managed to get the funds.
I have one more, I should say, because it's coming up to Christmas. This is kind of an honourable mention, and guarantee, Pat, you'll love this one. And it's not really a movie, but you could argue it's a feature-length version of the show, and it works because it just takes the show and just adds a seasonal twist, and that would be, again, people, it's a TV episode, but it's an hour long, and that would be Blackadder's Christmas Carol.
Was that a movie, or was it straight to DVD?
It was it was a TV Christmas special. It was BBC Christmas special in 1989. But the whole purpose of it was their first sort of foray into a longer, than your standard 30-minute, or 28 minutes without not commercials, like start and end of the show. But it was basically their first attempt of seeing if it was possible, because I believe this was what they originally intended, to make somewhat longer and possibly feature-length episodes of Blackadder.
Ah, I see.
And it basically does a Christmas Carol, but with Edmund Blackadder in the Victorian time. So when he's visited by Robbie Coltrane, because it's the opposite of a Christmas Carol, he's good at the start of the movie, and then he shows him, and they refilmed these, they shot these sequences again and visited at that time all the previous, eras of Blackadder. Because for those who don't know Blackadder, seriously, get on it and sort your shit out. It's fucking amazing, apart from the first series. We don't talk about that, and they obviously don't reference it in this. And he shows him, if he wanted to see how bad and evil he was, which is why he doesn't need to change, on Christmas Eve, because basically Robbie Coltrane, the spirit of Christmas, stumbles into the wrong house because he's drunk. And it starts with Edmund being good, and then he eventually ends up seeing that when he was a bastard, in these little segments, they shoot that from Blackadder 2 and 3. And then a future Blackadder that never exists, that is brilliant, that if he was bad, he would be far more achieving in life than he was when he was good. So by the end of it, he's become bad, and he's the opposite of, it's like the anti-Christmas Carol. That's one of my favourite sequences ever, when Baldrick doesn't realise that's his manservant people, if you don't know Blackadder. But again, seriously, get on it. And he goes, I left my stocking up, my lord, and there's nothing in it. And he goes, well, that's not true, Baldrick. If you see, look very carefully. And he pushes his arm into his stocking or his sock, and then pulls it out, and he goes, you'll see that I put something in there. It's called a fist. And he holds his fist up. And he goes, the great thing about it is you can use it again. And he punches him in the face. He goes, and again. Punches him in the face again. He goes, and again. And he goes, thanks, my lord. The gifts you make yourself show the most love.
Exactly. And just for that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to now move on to the plugs, because Dave and me can do the plugs, which is a gift that just keeps giving. So, let's do that. Dave, where can we find you?
I want a fist for Christmas. To use on other people, not myself.
Oh,
You can find me at
to be fisted for Christmas.
No, that's your fantasy, mate, not mine. You remember the text you were sending me last night and the pictures?
Yeah.
Your fantasy.
And I was showing him my fist.
Yeah. See that? I went, yeah, it hurt.
Where can we find you, Dave, before we go into...
Find me at Lawn Boys Post 1975 on YouTube, the home of Dave. I officially, subtitled my YouTube title after the TV show. But hey, it's because I just like having a TV show or TV channel named after me. I do retro video games, I do vlogs, I do random vlogs. I'm really surprised at how well received my breakdown of the hatred that the Sainsbury's Christmas commercial was getting last week. That was really surprising. I don't just do retro video games. Sometimes I go off on a massive tangent, like my video yesterday is what's your comfort blanket? So yeah, if you want to see retro video games, you want to see me talk about all things nostalgic, and also just chuck in a spanner in the works and make your brain think for a couple of seconds, then check me out. And you can also find me on Facebook as, well, Dave Wade.
Yep, and you can find me on Facebook at youtube.com/thenerdgenius. You can find us on Twitter at UnlimRadio. YouTube at youtube.com/UnlimRadio. And you can also find us on facebook.com/UnlimRadio. And just so you know, guys, near to the
Don't
end
forget Slamcast.
Yes, Slamcast tomorrow night, 8 p.m. EST, 1 a.m. UK.
Well, we got to talk about Sting.
Yes, and loads of stuff that's going on from Survivor Series, including Dolph Ziggler's Soul Survivor. Silent Hill Genesis is coming. The Kickstarter's coming up, so we're going to make sure you guys back that. We'll talk more about that once that's been released.
And I finished with a massive amount of help from George. Almost all help from George. If you want to see it, people check it out on my Facebook page. But my Back to the Future Lego DeLorean is finished, and it's a thing of beauty.
How so fragile. If I'm drunk. Yes, Patty, I am drunk. So find me intoxicated tomorrow, and Dave has his DeLorean. So find him on Facebook.com/Dave Wade. Instagram.
And I'm not drunk. I'm trying to get drunk, but as I said to Patty last night, it's really difficult on Coors Light.
And apparently Patty's playing bingo. So there you go, guys. From us, I'm Michael Burhan. He's Dave Wade. This is the Untitled Movie Show. And as always, take it away, Jay.
Celebrity voices are impersonated. No celebrities were harmed in filming of this episode.
Excuse me, sir. The show's over.
Get away,
Take a Dreamcast.
It stinks. See you again, folks.